More recommendations for entertainment when you just have to get away from your computer screen. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter to keep you up on all the latest from MacVoices. Watch or listen to MacVoices straight from your email client. Sign up at macvoices.com/newsletter and stay up to date. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is part 2 in a 2-part MacVoices live session. This time of year, tech news is always a little bit slow, and with the writer's strike going on, no new content is being generated. So we decided to look back and provide you with some recommendations on things that you might want to use as entertainment when you get away from the computer screen. We have TV shows and movies, some old favorites, some new things that you may not have heard about, some documentaries, just a whole lot of things that the panel seems to really enjoy and can recommend. So let's go back and let the panel do the talking.
Jim, I really enjoyed Foundation, but to flip it around, I didn't particularly enjoy Silo, and everyone else that I talked to loves Silo. I thought it was okay, but the first episode, when it ended, I was done, and a couple friends said, you need to watch the second episode, and so I did, and I was done. And then Patrice Brendamore said, here's the problem. They created the series when Apple was releasing the first 3 episodes at the same time. And by the time the series was released, they switched it to, they do the two episodes for that first drop. So you have to have all 3 episodes to be able to have the series kind of work for you, I think. And after the 3rd episode, if I had time, I would watch whatever came next, and eventually I got through the whole series. But had I stopped at any point along the way and not picked it up again, I would have been totally fine. I don't feel like I would have been missing out on anything. And when I tell people that, they look at me as if I slapped them in the face with a fish.
I tend to wait on shows that aren't all streamed at once for just that reason, because I would rather watch at my own pace than, deliberately, so that's why I haven't seen Card season 3, because I was waiting, and obviously it's, I could have done it for a while, but some other stuff, came along, but I'll definitely get back to it, but didn't start writing because it's like, well, I don't want to, go through this, wait a week, cliffhanger, I may not binge them, boom, boom, boom. Sometimes I will, but I definitely don't necessarily want to wait a week. It's like, okay, we'll watch another one tomorrow when it's still, it's still pretty fresh.
When you've been waiting patiently, what has you excited to watch or rewatch?
The one that I've been really enjoying that I just finished is on Netflix. It was called Quarterback, and it was about Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs and Kirk Cousins with the Vikings, and Martin Mariota, is that his name?
Marcus.
With Marcus, so. Yeah. Anyway, it was just fascinating to watch. Spoiler alert, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, so they kind of followed him all the way through. But really enjoyed that. It kind of humanized a lot of these superstar football players. Kirk Cousins had a spectacular year. I didn't quite go as far as he wanted, but it was a great season for him too. So enjoyed that. The other things that I did at the beginning of the pandemic was I watched West Wing and ER and The Wire from the beginning, and kind of binged those. So those were 3 shows that I watched a lot. But my recommendation today is Quarterback on Netflix.
Wow. Do that again. The Wire?
The Wire, ER,
West Wing.
And West Wing. That's a lot of television to pack.
Oh yeah, the ER was 12 seasons, and 26 seasons per year. Yeah, so it was a lot. So and by the way, it was interesting to watch that where it got really, really good, and then the arc when it got really, really bad at the end. So it was ready to go when it went off the air. So
And speaking of West Wing, and I don't know if this is available anywhere on streaming right now. Have you ever seen Sports Night?
I got the DVD set.
Have you watched it?
Yeah.
Because that was Aaron Sorkin's first show before West Wing.
Yeah.
And it was just fantastic. Unfortunately, it only ran for 2 seasons. But in fact, that's one of those shows, kind of like Firefly, that, what a tragedy that didn't, more of them didn't get made. That's just one of my favorite shows of all time.
Don't even know that one.
And, it was on TV for a couple of years in the mid 90s, I think, because it was before West Wing. And of course, Aaron Sorkin wasn't, the household name, though that, he is now. And, so, it just had sort of a little cult following, but it's brilliant. It's so funny. The writing and the acting. It's about a sports television show, sort of like a Sports Center. And there's a bunch of actors that went on to other things that you'll be like, oh my gosh, there's that guy from, all these people that went on to other things. So kind of an all-star cast, but you didn't know it at the time.
Okay, adding another to my list.
But you might have to buy the DVDs to I think I have the DVDs of that too.
I'm going to throw out one series and then 2 movies, and these I have not seen. Well, I haven't seen the movies, but they're like on my next to watch list. The series though, and I'm completely embarrassed to admit this in public, but I have not seen the last season of The Expanse. I have no idea how it got by me, but I have not. And so that's coming up because I just so much enjoyed the first, 3 or 4 seasons. I think this was number 5 or 3 and this is 4, or 4 and this is 5. But I just felt like that was so well done. And I'm half angry at myself for not having finished that out.
There's so much good stuff out there. It's impossible to watch everything and stay up to date on everything.
Oh, it is. But Jeff, this one, I mean, again, this is among the things that I've been able to keep up with. I'm a little sorry I didn't, rank that one higher. I think the reason is that, at least for me, The Expanse requires you to pay a lot of attention to it. You can't just put it on in the background and let it roll by. You really have to pay attention to it because the characters and the politics of it are so intricate that, and not to mention the effects are so good that I want to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to dedicate some time to this because I really enjoyed that much. So that's the first one. I have not seen the BlackBerry movie, and I definitely want to see that because I've heard nothing but good things about that. I don't know if anybody here has seen it or not.
What's the premise of that one?
It's
BlackBerry?
It's about the BlackBerry.
Okay.
The device.
I didn't want to assume that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's about the device. So I've heard some really great things about that. And again, well, I know you and I are business guys. So I'm a business junkie when it comes to that kind of thing. The Tetris movie, the Tetris movie was great, and so I'm anxious to see BlackBerry. But the one I'm not a tennis player, but I want to see Boom Boom, the Boris Becker documentary from Apple TV, because I think he has such an interesting story that and if you don't know it, I'm not going to spoil it here, but I definitely am anxious to see this. And so those are some of the things that are coming up on my watch list.
Seems like the tennis documentaries tend to be really good. I watched the John McEnroe one that was on Showtime a while back, and it was really good. It was a documentary movie about him and his life. There's another one I probably could sneak in there. There's this kind of relation to Boris Becker.
Yeah, again, I'm not a tennis person.
No, you don't need to be. It's just watching his story and how his life. And we know, his story.
Yeah, I mean, there's some real characters in tennis. You don't think of it as that kind of sport. And Webb, thank you for the Patrick Mahomes thing. I did not know anything about that at all. So I will go and look for that.
Yeah, it's 8 episodes. They're all about an hour apiece. It's really, really well done. So, and quarterback who produced it, Peyton Manning was the executive producer of that show, which made it even a little bit more interesting. Another perspective on it. So,
well, and someone that knows football.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, Brittany Smith has joined us just in time to give us her takes on what we should be watching. Good to have you, Britt. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks. I mean, you gave me long enough that I was like getting my dinner ready and stuff, and I could come up with some things because I haven't watched anything in a while.
So it's your turn. What would you be? Do you want to watch? What would you recommend to people to fill in the gaps that are being left by the strike?
I was thinking about some classics that I've just liked for a really, really long time. One of them was a little show called Eureka that was on the Sci-Fi Network. Just really charming. It also was negatively impacted by writer's strikes, the previous one. But like it went from charming to being like, oh, you just really flipped the table on me. And I didn't see that coming, and got really good and then canceled because, that's the heartbreaking thing. But it did make it into season 5. It just didn't finish season 5. So it's not, and old timey lengths. So, 20 episodes a season and stuff. So it's not worth getting into. And another one that was a Canadian show that aired in the US on Sci-Fi was Continuum, which is a time travel show. It also got cut off prematurely, but was super intense and really, really cool while it was, and did time travel very well. And I'm one of those weirdos who can follow time travel like in my sleep. So I was always having arguments with people about timelines and stuff. So yeah.
Boy, I remember Eureka, and it's not a word I would have picked, but charming is a good description, because the characters were just real enough that you could buy into the premise of the whole thing. But yeah, that was a good one. And
every once in a while there'd be something like, why is Henry explaining neuroscience when his wife is actually a neuroscience expert? Oh, because he's a main character and needs more lines, Just there would be things like that where you're like, I would take my science perspective and be like, that, but it wasn't all the time. And there was enough like, one of their lines is, oh, it will work theoretically. And so every time my husband would catch me saying theoretically, because I also have a science background, he would tease me about it. So, yeah.
I feel like I should know Continuum, but I don't. Or I don't remember it.
I think it got very broad appeal, but it was intense and interesting, and just when you think what's happening, some other time travel thing would happen, and yeah. So you had to track 2 of them now.
I will go and look for that just to see if I do remember it.
It starts off in the kind of dystopian future that Canadians would definitely make. That corporations have basically taken over for the government, and then somebody goes back in time, like either to try to stop it or whatever, and then you have to uncover it as you go along.
Okay, I will definitely check it out. It's not ringing a bell. Maybe as soon as I see the first screen capture or 2, it will ring a bell. But
the main character is a cop who has some cybernetic implants, and so she's fast and can see things, and you see a little, heads-up display on her vision. Yeah.
Brittany, since you're into the time travel stuff and can keep track of all the little bits and pieces, have you watched Travelers?
No, I will try it, and it will make my husband taste pennies. Which is what he says when it gets confusing.
Oh, that one is so good, Jeff. That is a great recommendation.
Yeah. Well, as long as I'm tossing out recommendations, if you haven't watched Peacemaker, it's the only good thing that came out of that it was one of the DC movies. It was like the bad guy superhero group.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember what the movie was called.
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. Yes.
Yeah.
And James Gunn took the Peacemaker character played by John Cena and turned that into its own series. And I think season 2 is coming. But it was wonderfully fun. Dave, since you're into documentaries, have you watched Kunk on Earth? It's on Netflix.
I have not seen that.
Okay. Philomena Kunk, she is I don't want to spoil it for you. Go watch the trailer for Kunk on Earth. And it's like 5 episodes, and each episode she explores a different era in human history. Like one point it's Roman history, and another point it's like medieval history, and then what's going on today. Anyhow, it's just a wonderfully done series, but watch the trailer because I don't want to spoil it for you.
I'm adding it to my list right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. Jeff, I'd forgotten about Travelers. That's one that I definitely would like to rewatch because I felt like that was another intense one that you really had to pay attention to.
You have to pay attention the whole way through. And I love that the lead character, it's played by Eric McCormick, who most people think of as a comedy actor, but he can do serious really well.
You guys have reminded me of 2 that I want to throw in. The TV series 12 Monkeys. Not the movie. The movie was terrible, but the TV series was it's loosely based on the general premise of the movie, and it was so much better.
But like Buffy. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a terrible movie.
Yes.
And then it had a series that was...
And yes, I loved the movie, but yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say I hated it. I just said it was terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That is absolutely fair.
But Brittany, if you ever want a divorce, watch 12 Monkeys with your husband.
Why? What?
The time travel thing.
Oh, it's time. He doesn't mind it. He just likes to make jokes that he's tasting pennies and gets, like, wait, what?
Well, he'll have a whole compromise full of that one because they bounce back and forth. It's so well done. It's not corny. It's dramatic, but you really have to pay attention. But the other one, and this is sort of in keeping with the current AI situation, this goes back into the 60s, and so it'll be quaint in some ways, but very prescient in others. Is Colossus, the Forbin Project. Does anybody know?
Oh my gosh. That's from like the 70s, right?
60s or 70s, yeah. Yeah. But it's supercomputer horror, no, scratch horror. It's a science fiction film. It's a science fiction film, but and I'm afraid if I give any of it away, I'll spoil it since obviously not many, if any of you have seen it. But it is, again, keep in mind when it was done. But I still will go back and rewatch that because it just punches a button of some kind for me.
No, I know I saw it like 45 years ago or something, but I don't remember one thing about it. I definitely never rewatched it. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, anybody in the
The
chat.
interesting thing about that era of science fiction is that computers were always imagined as, expanding to cover the planet and not as something that would be strapped onto your wrist.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to catch up in the chat room. Barry says we enjoyed Night Sky on Prime Video. We're disappointed it was not renewed for a second season. Oh, that's the one with oh boy. Yes, I know what you're talking about, Barry. And I can't think of the actor's name. He played in the Marvel movies. He's the spokesman for Farmers Insurance. Somebody help me. Oh, well. Anyway. Yeah, him. Yeah.
Oh,
But-
is Night Sky the one where it's the older couple?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I saw the first few first few episodes of it, and then got distracted because so much TV.
It was a little slow getting out of the gate, Jeff, but as it went along, it picked up steam, and I too was sorry that it got canceled.
And in the chat room, Brian says J.K. Simmons. That's correct. It's J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, yes. Thank you. And Sissy Spacek, yes. I forgot it was Sissy Spacek, the husband. So, yeah.
Also with the word night in it is The Night Manager, which is on Amazon Prime. And I think I've watched that 3 times. It's a 5-episode sort of miniseries with Tom Hiddleston and Hugh Laurie. Really good. It's kind of a spy thriller thing.
Okay.
Really made me think Tom Hiddleston should have been the next Bond. Played a very
I think he would have made a very interesting Bond.
Yeah.
What's that, the Night Manager, Jim?
The Night Manager. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a based on a John le Carre book.
I think Tom Hiddleston could be a very interesting Doctor in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Rich in the chat room apparently has seen Colossus, the Forbin Project, because he just made a reference to it that he and I both understand. So, yes. Yes. Very nice.
Ryan mentions Only Murders in the Building. I really enjoyed season 1. Season 2, I felt like it was a little more strained.
I'm partway through season 1. No spoilers.
I don't remember.
Well, Jeff, what happens is, I'm kidding. I haven't seen any of these things.
Well,
Really great. So we get to the part where you just
Oh no, my internet connection is failing. Oh no.
was that your episode or imitation of the robot from Lost in Space, the original movie?
was the episode with Sting in series 1 or
Danger.
Yeah.
Sting was in season 1.
Did I ever tell you about the time someone
was so
saw
classic.
a cover of something in my hand and their facial expression spoiled the end for me?
Yeah.
I
The person had no poker face whatsoever.
I think he just did.
Okay.
I was like, oh, okay, so this person dies at the end. Okay, cool. Because they just looked, there was no other reason they could possibly look that sad. Just watching the thing in my hand.
People are so unaware about how good they are at telegraphing information.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
I can't blame her, but it was funny.
yeah, I've experienced that same thing.
And so I read the book very differently because it was a book, but I read it very differently because I was like, well, I mean, he was either going to tie in this book or the next one, so.
A sort of a guilty pleasure show that my wife and I really enjoyed was Emily in Paris.
Yeah.
Or, I think they're going to do another season, so I shouldn't say past tense, but they've done 3. The lead actress is Phil Collins' daughter.
Brian, you just brought up Severance in our private chat. And that's, is that definitely coming back? Because as I recall, I thought I heard that there were lots of internal politics along with the strike.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard there might have been some disagreements in addition to the strike stuff going on, but I don't know, the showrunners, if there's a couple of, I think they weren't getting along or something like that. There was a story that came out about 2 months ago now. I'll have to see if I can find it, but yeah, I'm really hoping that goes through because I guess they had renewed it for season 2, but hopefully all goes well because I love that series.
I'm very much looking forward to season 2. I'm thinking positive.
Mm-hmm. And Jeff, you put in the chat that Loki is coming on season 2, which I didn't even know there was going to be a season 2 of Loki.
Well, they did a nice setup in case they got renewed for season 2, and they did. And there's a trailer for season 2 that dropped. What is this, Tuesday? It's been in the last few days. So if you want to get a taste of what's coming in season 2 of Loki, there's a trailer for you.
Brittany, we're starting to run up against time because I said we were going to abbreviate this show a little bit tonight, but I'm a little shocked, and I feel that in the spirit of political correctness that I should give Star Wars roughly equal time to all the Star Trek discussion we had before you get out of here. And I'm shocked that you didn't bring up any of the Star Wars spinoffs.
Right. I feel like everyone's talked about Andor so much that, like, what is there to say? And it's really a downer to say, I used to really like Mandalorian.
Okay.
So I think they've ceased writing second drafts of scripts for the episode. What I said jokingly was, it's a weird choice to film your first draft, but okay, I can't wait to see what they come up with in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just everyone's talked about Andor to death, and that's the one that I feel the most comfortable praising.
Okay. I mean, I'm just a little surprised because I think I've got them all now. I've watched them all, and I had different reactions to them. But I
remember you said you like Boba Fett, which actually doesn't surprise me that much after I thought about it.
Because of me or because of Boba Fett?
Because of you.
Oh.
You strike me as a Western guy.
Oh, no, not really.
No? Okay.
Other than Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, and some John Wayne too, yeah, but not like, let's just go and watch a western.
Dirty Harry too.
Well, that wasn't a western. That was just, we need more dirty.
We, being my spouse who watched them with me and myself, we grew up like, oh, Boba Fett's the coolest. And then they just didn't have him do anything very cool.
Brittany, if you want to watch Star Wars where they actually go through several drafts before they start filming, you need to watch the animated stuff.
I have. And honestly, I just think he's getting lazy in his taking on a bunch of stuff. Because it's the same writer for a lot of the things. And yeah, there's a lot of really, really good episodes, I think, especially in Clone Wars. But where they tackle like deep stuff that you're like, I'm sorry, did they just address friendly fire in this kid's cartoon?
And yes, they did.
Yeah, they sure are doing that. And they just accidentally shot their brothers. Yeah, some really good ones, some stupid ones too. Let's be clear. But then
absolutely, yes.
But then oh, okay, now this set I really like. I'm into this one.
My hypothesis on the really stupid ones is that Dave Filoni wanted to create a very adult program, but to get the funding, he had to pitch it as a kid's show because it's a cartoon. So they had to create a small set of silly episodes each season so that it would appear as if it actually was a kid's show.
There are some silly ones, but there are also some that felt a little bit too much like I was stuck in the Senate chambers in the prequels again. So, where I was like, oh, this one's a little dry for me. I'd like a little more action, thanks. But yeah, like there's some really good ones, and there's some fun stuff there for sure. And even in this last season of Mandalorian, there were scenes I really liked. I freaking love Bo-Katan. She could be my idol, and I can be her when I grow up. Thanks. But then then they had just like, I'm sorry, that character just did what? So. You also have to remember I'm a film school nerd, so I'm going to be judgy about some things. Some things I can like them because they're stupid, and some things I can't like them because they're stupid.
That's fair.
And that's profound, Brittany, and that's the way I feel about a number of TV shows. that some are so stupid that I just cannot watch them, and others I love because they are stupid.
Not that I've seen this since I saw it in the theater, like in high school, but I went to go see the Spice World movie, and I knew exactly what I was getting into, and I was not even a little bit disappointed. I did not expect Shakespeare from the Spice Girls. I did not get Shakespeare. I got a stupid, frivolous comedy, and I had a good time.
There you go. Barry is suggesting to me that I watch Silverado and Free Range. So I haven't seen either one of those. So thank you, Barry. I will do so. And he also says that Loki season 2 starts October 6th. So mark your calendar.
Nice.
Barry, thank you.
October 6th?
October 6th.
Okay. All right. I'll try to finish the first season by then.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm going to wrap this just a little bit early because I've got to wake up at an hour that no human being should have to wake up. I don't mind getting in at that hour, but waking up at that hour is not good. So, and we never even got to podcasts. So maybe we'll continue this theme next week and touch on podcasts that we like and that maybe you want to think about subscribing to that are not entertainment related. So we're not violating anybody's anybody's rights or anybody's political views. So let's spin around the room and let everyone introduce themselves, and we'll go from there. And I will start with Mr. David Ginsburg. David, great to have you as always. Thanks so much. Where can folks connect with you?
You can find me at InTouchWithIOS, InTouchWithIOS.com, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/InTouchWithIOS. I'm on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network on Fridays. I'm here on Tuesdays, and you can find me on most social medias, Mastodon, and others at DaveG65.
Thank you, David. Good to have you. Brian Flanigan-Arthurs, man with the new mic. Thanks so much for being here. Where can folks connect with you?
Thank you for having me. I had a great time. The best place to reach me online is at Brian8944 at mastodon.cloud.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Hypertext, where can folks find you? And I bet it's not on the network owned by Mr. Musk.
He has a network?
Always the straight man.
Yeah, okay. You can find me at provue.com, PROVUE.com. You can find me on Mastodon at ProvueJim at TechHub, techhub.social. And also, for a limited time, you can find me at Summerfest, which is at artisanalsoftwarefestival.com. So there's 21 indie Mac apps that are on sale, mostly for 25% off, including mine, Panorama, and a bunch of other cool ones, Take Control Books and Nicest Writer, BB Edit. So everyone go check that out.
Thank you, Jim.
Since we are Mac, that's our one bit of Mac content.
Yeah. Well, never mind.
I know it's our topic, but
yeah. Eric Bolden, thank you so much for being here. You were a little quiet tonight, but I guess it's just the Zen Garden thing.
Yeah, bad. And then, I'm writing down all the stuff because now I'm going to be stuck in front of the iPad while I'm supposed to be working, watching all this stuff. It's going to be a long week.
You're welcome.
You can find me at EA Bolden at techhub.social.
That's it?
There's more, but, I got to get back to the show now that there are extra seasons, and I have a long list now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Eric. Jeff Gamet, thank you for being here as always. What is the best way for folks to connect with you?
Well, first, thanks for letting me in yet again. Every week, I'm always surprised. Okay, so finding me is pretty easy on all the socials, and now even on Blue Sky, thanks to Dave hooking me up with the code. J Gamet. I'm J Gamet everywhere. Then for shows, Tuesdays, because you keep letting me in here. And then Thursdays, Dave keeps letting me in for In Touch with iOS. And then British Tech Network on Thursdays for the big show. And then on Fridays for the Mac show. And then Brian Chaffin and I do the Context Machine. Other shows happen along the way, but there you go. That's the stuff.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Webb Bixby from his new office, and he must have paid a fortune to get that view. Where can folks find you?
Yeah, thank you. You can find me at Webb Bixby just about everywhere. I'm on the Twitter, I'm on the Blue Sky, everything. It's all Webb Bixby. As one word, no space. So anyway, that's where you can find me. Chuck, thanks for letting me be here.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, Webb. Thank you. Last but not least, she got here in time to share a few of her favorites, Brittany Smith. Britt, thanks so much. Where can folks connect with you?
Lots of things with ADD Liberator on them. And for Mastodon, it's ADD Liberator at pdx.social.
Great. Thank you very much. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices Live. This was a little bit of a different show, both because I'm in a hotel room and just because of the subject matter. Would love to know what you thought of it, whether this was a good idea or not. It turned into a bit of an experiment, but I think we all had a good time, and hopefully you did too, and maybe we've given you some things to add to your watch list. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.